Welcome to the Evolution Security Podcast. This is Aaron Davis and Eric Davis, the Tactical Twins. We are getting back on a roll after I had surgery a few weeks ago, and I'm just excited here. This is a Friday night that we're getting to hang out after a week of counting other people's money. I'm ready to chill out here with some buddies. And Eric, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. Aaron, I had a really, really good day. Frankly, it started with 0600 JiuJitsu taught class this morning. And, when you get up early and get your workouts done earlier, man, it just seems to have a really good flow for the day. And then I teleworked and didn't have a whole lot going on. I still had to stay close to my computer and my phone. But man, I just hung out with the wife all day, got a little bit done around the house. And man, now I'm here hanging out with two really good friends.
Amen, brother. Well, we're going to then have to welcome Cecil Burch. He has become a great friend. Eric's known him for quite a while. I've started getting to know Cecil with some classes here, and you'll start noticing, audience, I'm speaking to you, that we have some great friends that we've built up a rapport with for this show, and Cecil is definitely one of them. So you're probably going to hear quite a bit from him from time to time. But Cecil, man, thanks for spending time with us. How you doing, brother?
Good. I always enjoy talking to you guys, whether it's face to face or through the wonders of the internet. It's always fun. I always like. You guys are just fun to talk to, but we got so many shared interests, so it just makes things that much better. And you guys accept that I'm right all the time, so that's even better.
Even more so right than Chris Lepre?
Oh my God, he's so wrong all the time. Unless he's shooting a gun, he's never right. Then I'll take a step back.
He can certainly handle a gun. I mean, if
that guy, he shoots lights out, man.
Yeah, he's a killer shooter and another excellent friend. That was so awesome when I saw him come in for Range Master IDC that you hosted. And man, it had been a while. It had been since you and I, it wasn't your first DCQC, but my first DCQC in Phoenix was the first place that I met him. And man, what really great friendships around this path. But so we kind of got a little thing going on between you and Chris right now. It's your guys' fault, and I'm really irritated. Right? The fact that you had him on more than me. Now, okay, so now he and I are tied. All right. So my anger has subsided a little bit. But you are not allowed to have him on again before I come on another time. Well, I'm not going to have a text from him going, "Oh, I'm on more than you." Well, Cecil, since you're much better at jiu-jitsu than I am, I guess we'll do what you have to say. Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking of which, Cecil, I was honestly, you popped in my head this morning when I was teaching, because one of the guys, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, said, "Hey, Eric, don't you have a boxing or kickboxing background?" And I said, as a matter of fact, I was way more into boxing and kickboxing before jiu-jitsu. He's like, "Hey, man, maybe we can do some boxing in the morning every now and then." And it is part of our, my gym does do testing, and it is part of the curriculum. But anyway, I taught the first half of class was boxing, and some stuff you're very familiar with. Some of it I've gotten from you. So yeah, I was certainly thinking about you doing that boxing. Yeah, it was fun. Go ahead.
I love jiu-jitsu, but you got to have a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's one of those things I kind of left it behind for a long time. And, it comes back. I mean, when I'm in scenarios or ECQC and whatnot, somehow my boxing and Thai boxing just comes right back out. without training. But yeah, I today was a day where I was like, man, I am going to pull this into our normal rotation in the mornings because the guys really liked it, and it was a lot of fun. And then it may seem a little incongruent, but I ended with some Danaher straight jacket back attack
Okay.
stuff, which I'm
Okay.
trying to perfect myself. So a lot of fun. But anyway, enough about me. I just wanted to let you know that boxing made me think about you. So, but anyway, Aaron, what you got, buddy?
Well, so Cecil, I believe we're looking there at what looks to be your new gym. Is that correct?
Yep. This is the reception desk, and then here's our gis, and over there is some of our sitting stuff. Yep. This is where if I'm not on the mat, I'm spending a lot of time right here at this position.
Awesome.
And Cecil, you're doing that full time now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I turned the family business over to my brother about technically December. I pretty much said, okay, it's all yours. You do it. I thought I would be on call. I kind of thought I'd have to go into the office every now and then, maybe late in the afternoon in between classes. I'd have to be available for it to help him out with, consulting. And he's asked me like 3 questions since then. He's taken the ball and run with it. And now I haven't had to even think about that for months.
That's awesome.
It's great. I'm literally a full-time jiu-jitsu bum and traveling seminar instructor.
That sounds like great. Living the life.
We're so happy for you.
I told my wife, this is a few months ago. She was, I was like, I've had some really, since I opened the academy and started doing this, I said, I've had some really long days. I've had some really tough days, but I've never, ever had a crappy day. Not one time, which on the old job was pretty much the description of every single day. I just, especially after my mom had passed away, and, it was really hard to go into an office that was a family business and half the family, my parents, are gone. Right. And it was not fun. And so now, man, I'm talking jujitsu, I'm talking self-defense, I'm talking shooting, I'm talking strength and conditioning, I'm talking about health stuff. Literally 24/7. It's great. I wish I'd have pulled the trigger right about a year before my mom died. I talked to her about getting out of the business, and she goes, "You should do it, Cecil. Go." And I started to make that way, but then when she passed away, my brother and I had to buckle down, and we had so much, business issues to take care of, and the state issues and stuff. So all that was on hold. But yeah, I'm loving this, dude. This is the best thing ever. I teaching guys or teaching people jiu-jitsu, self-defense, making them a little bit more capable, a little bit more confident. Man, it's much better than selling somebody a health insurance policy. I'll tell you that much.
Well, there's a few aspects to kind of unpack here, but number one, at some point, and it's no joke, we need to come out there, bring Becky, Eric, me, and show up, get to go to your gym, and maybe if Chris is nearby, speaking of shooting, all of us just have a freaking weekend of training just for the hell of it.
Come by, we can train. We can train here on a Saturday or even Friday. If you come in early, come in Friday, and then we'll go down to meet Chris down in Casa Grande stand and shoot down there.
We got to do it, man. I mean, literally just for the fun of it and
sounds amazing.
Have fun and learn. But I've been thinking about that a lot lately because, of course, you're in the Phoenix area, right?
North Phoenix, pretty much north central. Like if you're going north, if you're leaving up from the airport, if you're leaving up from downtown and you're going north to Flagstaff, Grand Canyon, I'm kind of on the northern boundary.
Okay.
Past us, it's open territory.
Well, so one of the things that I'm excited to talk to you about is that So my family, my boys, me, and then my wife Becky, who you know, we started our jiu-jitsu journey at Gracie Tulsa, at
Yeah.
Gracie's Tulsa, and you know they're of course one of the affiliates of Gracie University and the brothers Huron and Henner. And it was real neat to me that you started getting involved in, and that you're now an affiliate with them,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're CTC under Gracie University, or affiliated with Gracie University, I should say.
And you know, it was fun hearing from you and then our instructors there, Robert and then Tim, and I think Brittany was out there. You know,
Yeah.
so cool. It's cool that you guys just kind of bumped into each other. But man, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that? You know, why you decided to do that? You know, how it's going, all of that stuff.
Sure. So, so I always had a certain idea of how jujitsu should be taught. You know, over 30 years of doing it, I'm like, I know what tends to be working for most people, average people. Like if you want to become a great competitor, nobody's going to do a better job at it than my instructor, my professor, Meg. But the training's very hardcore. It's very, it's very Shark Tank Darwinian. And he admits it. He completely says that's his thing. And I've seen a lot of people who could have done jujitsu, who could have used jujitsu, who kind of quit because they just couldn't handle that level of training. And there's definitely a time and a place for that level of training. There's definitely a time and a place when you put the gear on and you just bang and you go full out. Absolutely, that has to be a regular thing, but it doesn't have to be every day. And it is okay to work on technique, and it is okay to work on drilling and mechanics and go at 20%, 50%, 70%. Pressure testing has to be there all the time. You never get into the kata thing where, oh, he does this and I do that. That's never a positive. But we can do everything short of that without having to kill ourselves. And we can do like 2 hours of training. So when I started building the fundamental class at Meg's gym 15 years ago, I didn't have any guidelines to that. I basically was doing it on my own. I was like, okay, what do I think would be a good way to get information across to newbies? And a lot of trial and error, right? A lot of trial and error. Sometimes I hit it right out of the ballpark, and other times, man, I screwed the pooch hard. So, but eventually, I thought my program the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years has been really good. And Meg even said, when I was doing that all the time, when I was running that program, so I was responsible basically for taking the new guy walking in the door and getting into blue belt. And then Meg would take over from there, which was a perfect mix. And Meg said that those people who came up during that time were some of the best students we've ever had, because we got a lot of them, because I didn't run anybody off. I made sure they had a good grounding in jiu-jitsu, not just being tough or not just, having great physical attributes, but understanding what they were supposed to be doing, and then put them through the kiln and let them harden up. So that was a really good way. And so when I went to open this academy, I was like, all right, I've got this idea. I have an idea of how to work it and how to split between that and the advanced training. So I ended up one of the other black belts at Meg, Sean, he wanted to open a gym too. And he lives up my way as well. And he was looking in the same general area. So I said to him, and he travels a lot. His family, his wife's from Peru. So they travel a lot. And I said to him, we both have the same problem. How are we going to run a full-time academy? You're gone on vacation. You're going to Peru. You're doing this. I'm gone, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Friday to Monday morning doing seminars 1, 2, 3 times a month. But if we team up, we can each cover the other one's weaknesses. And so he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So we started working together, and Sean started looking at Gracie University stuff. He had taken his kids to another academy because the person who was teaching kids at Meg's moved away, and then Meg doesn't have the ability to teach kids, so we didn't have a kids program, and so Sean took him to another place, and it was a Gracie University thing. And so Sean was looking at it and going, "Oh, that's interesting, interesting way of teaching." And so he jumped in on a couple classes, and he was like, "Oh, this is an interesting approach." So he started looking a little more at it, and he went to GU last year, last April-ish, whatever. And talked to Huron, rolled with them, and he became kind of a believer in their methodology. And he came back, Cecil, let's go this way. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to teach somebody else's curriculum, and then we're supposed to do what they say, and they don't even roll anyway, and it's all all the cliches that everybody thinks about how that program works. I was full on. I mean, I appreciated the fact their level of teaching was excellent. Like I had their Combatives DVD set like when it first came out 14 years ago, and I used that to help build my fundamental curriculum at Meg's because their level of detail and how you understand the technique was so much better than almost everybody else's, especially back then. But it was the outside stuff, and I was like, and then they made the mistake in their early years of promoting people to blue belt through video, which they admit it was a huge mistake. They should never have done that. But I was like, I don't know, and Sean was like, look at this, and the more I looked at what he said, and I went to one of the local CTCs here on the certified training centers here, and I kind of watched the program and stuff, and I was like, that's kind of what I was doing at Meg's. It wasn't a whole lot different, a little more structured. So I ended up going to GU last summer and spent, 4 days there. And I had, I rolled with everybody. I met all the guys. I had like a 3-hour meeting with Henner. Like the first time I met him, he goes, hey, come back to my office. Let's go talk. And the first thing he said, as soon as we sat down, the first thing he said was, what concerns do you have about the program? And we just went into it. And he was super honest, super upfront on everything. And the way he explained it, I really dug it. And I really saw the utility, especially of the Combatives program and the kids program. The kids program is really good too. And then what made it nice was I always viewed it as if you do their stuff, you have to teach everything their way. And Henner's like, no, just the kids program and the Combatives program. Teach our curriculum. He goes, but for the advanced class, he goes, Cecil, you're a 3rd degree black belt under Megaton. You do whatever you want. And I'm like, oh. And it also helped that I saw them roll and rolled with them, right? There's this myth that at GU, nobody trains hard. I'm going to tell you something. Their guys are as good as anybody I've ever rolled with. Their black belts, certainly, even their lower belts, there's some good dudes. Even their like blue belts, they may not be offensive killers, but defensively, they are really hard to tap. Everything's very, very tight. They understand how to be safe and not just flail and be spastic. And so I'm like, that's pretty impressive. And once Henner was like, we only ask you to teach these 2 canned programs because they're structured a certain way. And I kind of dug it. I was like, okay, that's good. And they were he was super accommodating. You have to go through their instructor program, and it's like a long video. It's actually legitimately, it's the best instructor training program I've ever seen. Cool. It's multiple videos over months that you then have to be tested on. And then you have to do a 4-day camp in front of them. And each of those, the video program and the camp, you could fail. And I saw people fail. You could fail at it. It's not a gimme program. It's actually very tough. It was the especially the camp was really nerve-wracking to me, because it's so tough and they're very precise in teaching methodology. But right from the beginning, Henner said, you can go ahead and use all our stuff. You can use our basics, all that stuff. Just don't use our logo or our names right now until you get certified. And I'm like, he's a really good businessman, but he's not a psychotic, greedy businessman. He's very into giving and getting back. He doesn't see it as everything. Unfortunately, most of the affiliations in the jiu-jitsu community are geared one way, upstream. All the good stuff pretty much goes upstream. Whereas with GU, I felt very much from the beginning that it's a two-way street. That I'm getting so much support, I'm getting so much stuff from them, as well as whatever payment I do or whatever things I have to do, to follow their program. So went ahead and did it, and I'm going to tell you something. Guys, people love it. People love the program. They respond. I've got guys, I've got a couple older guys. I got a 67-year-old guy who his wife was adamant that he shouldn't do jiu-jitsu. And he kind of basically snuck out of the house behind her back and came to class and said, look, honey, I did the class and I'm not hurt. And that was 6 months ago, and he's still going strong. So we've got kids as young as 13 in the adult program on up to Scott at 67. And we got a couple other guys in their 60s. It's a terrific program. Now, is it the fastest way to get functionally fighting? No. I still, I'm going to pat myself on the back here, which I don't normally do. But I think between my coursework and ECQC, that's the better pathway if you need basic hand-to-hand grappling skills quickly and functionally. I think you're better off coming to my class and ECQC. Either one first, it doesn't matter. But, between the two of us, what is that? Between the two of us, that's 45 hours worth of training over 6 days. That's pretty good. 5.5 days. That's pretty good.
Certainly must take classes, both of them. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Phenomenal.
Certainly people should. But I think mine too. I think I get a pretty good the basic information across to people who don't know anything.
Absolutely.
But if
phenomenal
you don't have if you don't have a particular need for an immediate end state, the GU Combatives program is pretty good. It's pretty good. It gets you to a decent level. 8 to 12 months you could be okay in 8 to 12 months. And most importantly, in those 8 to 12 months, you're probably not getting hurt.
Yeah.
You're probably not, you probably don't go, oh God, I don't want to go to class tonight. So-and-so's going to be there. And if I roll with him, he's going to crush me and maybe jack up my knee or something like that. And we've all been there with those guys.
Yep.
But you don't get that in the GU program. And I think there's a huge amount of merit to that. I think sometimes in the self-preservation training community, it's very much the focus is now. Make me John Wick right now. It's like, it doesn't work that way. I don't care who the instructor is. Craig can't turn you into John Wick right now. I don't care. Tom Givens can't turn you into John Wick right now. So the path is, an extended long one, right? It's mastery is a journey, not a destination. And unless you have a need that you might get into a fight for your life tomorrow, well, you don't have necessarily a pressing need to know everything right now. Just start working and go on the path. And if you do it that way, because here's the other thing. The problem with trying to get everything now is maybe we push too hard. And what happens? We get hurt. Right? And now we're out for 6 months because I wasn't paying attention and I blew out my knee, or I'm out for 3 months because I dislocated my shoulder because I wasn't paying attention and I wasn't at my best because I was in such a hurry. I had to train harder. So I'd rather see guys be on the mat 2-3 days a week, spending most of their time training at a 50% level, than seeing a guy a couple days a week training at 90%, because I know at some point that guy is getting hurt. Even if he's like the 25-year-old super athlete, right? He's going to get hurt and then he's going to be off the mat. Whereas that 40-year-old guy who's going 3 times a week, but at that 50% level, for the 6 months that the other guy's off the mat, this guy's still on the mat. He's still training, getting better. And so I think that's a super important way to look at this. Is, do we need it now? Okay, well, that's this path. Are we just trying to get better overall and to be better every day? Then this path is a good one. Like, okay, take a Tom Givens class. Take combative pistol, for example. But then what do you need to do? Dry fire and shoot X amount of time. Maybe in 3 months, 6 months, a year, you'll hit all those markers you want to hit. But it's not coming the day after you're in Tom's class. You just have to keep training. And I like the GU model a lot for that. I don't think it's perfect in my book. It's not perfect. And as I'm building my friendship with Henner and Huron, I will bring that up at some point. I'm just not doing it right now. I actually have talked to him on a couple things, like really minor, because I do think we're building a good relationship. I think they genuinely do like me and my partner, Sean, and they trust us. Especially once Huron came out and paid a visit and trained at ran our master cycle class one night and enrolled with us. I think that was our passing, not the test, that's not right, but I think he just wanted to see how we operate in our home environment. And I think after that,
an assessment. Yeah,
exactly. Hey, are they buying into the system? Are they doing what we think is best for jiu-jitsu? Are they good people, kind of thing? And I think we passed with flying colors. And so, we have a pretty good rapport with both of them. So I'm not going to stick my foot in my mouth yet, but I will at some point. There's a couple things I'd like to, real minor stupid stuff. I think we need to show break balls more. I think that's one thing that's left out of the program a little bit. There's a few of the classes that allow it as part of the warm-up review in the first 10 minutes of class, but I don't know. I think there should be something to do it more often, but just little things like that. But overall, I think it's really solid. And then in the advanced class, now we get to do whatever. Now we get to do all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm telling you, no other jiu-jitsu affiliation that I've seen has their business support. I mean, legitimate business support. I have a problem with something, I mail the support staff, I will have an answer in less than 24 hours. And it's almost always a positive answer. Like, it's never like, hey, well, that's just the way it is, dude. It literally is. Like, Sean and my business model is different. Like, we're 50-50 owners, co-owners of the academy. Most of, probably 99.9% of the CTCs has one owner. So all the behind the scenes admin stuff is set up with one guy. So I was getting left out on some information, emails and stuff like that. And I just went to him and said, hey, can we fix this? And instead of saying, oh, well, our system's not set up that way, we can't do it, they were like, let us work on it. Took them a week, but it fixed almost all the issues. I don't know any other jiu-jitsu affiliation that I think I would have got that from, that sort of, report. And the fact that I'm still under megaton, right? And I said that to Henner immediately in our meeting. I said, listen, I'm a third-degree black belt under Megaton Diaz. All my belts, all my stripes came from that man, and I don't intend for that to stop.
Yeah,
And
I was
Henry
going
was
to
like,
ask you about that,
absolutely.
honestly.
What's that? Sorry, Art?
I was going to ask you about that, honestly, Cecil.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know
Oh
if
yeah.
I was going to ask you on the air, but no, and you gave the answer. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
curious
and
about.
Henry was like, absolutely. He's been your professor. He's that. We don't expect anything. Our thing with GU is business relationship, helping us with the academy, good jujitsu stuff. But like Sean just got his third degree from Meg a month ago. Just got his third stripe from Meg like a month ago. So we're still under Meg, and that's not going to change. I mean, if you look here, his picture's right up above our wall, right? It's Meg, and there's a picture of me and Sean, right? That's the instructor wall here, and it's going to stay that way. And we already set up for our 1-year anniversary party in September. Meg's doing a seminar here. We've already got that set up. So, and Meg's completely supported from the beginning. Goes, yeah, that's a good business model. That's the way to do it. So yeah. So
Well,
for GU, I mean, it's been a win-win. It's
awesome.
worked.
Well, I just have to kind of interject again, being someone that started out at a Gracie affiliate school, that I really do think it is an amazing way to get people into jiu-jitsu because it is not overwhelming. Now, I felt sometimes that I would have rather have started rolling sooner, but it's just there's kind of a split. So Gracie, it's a while before you usually get into rolling, but at other gyms, you start rolling right off the bat and people get run off. So to get and digressing just a little bit. So Robert Davenport is the Gracie Tulsa instructor, and just a shout out to Robert and his amazing team there. When my boys started, it was a fairly small school, but still plenty of students. But I've seen that school probably grow 6 times. It's huge. They just built a new building, and they're running out of space some nights. So yeah, just it obviously, okay. So jiu-jitsu is uncomfortable in a lot of ways, even if you're going light, right? But to see so many regular people, moms, dads, people in their 50s, 60s, kids, etc., going to class and then starting a life, you speaking of my wife, right? I used to push her to get into jiu-jitsu, and she kind of, I don't know. She started there, finally surpassed me, I mean, a long time ago, and it is her number one outlet. Number one. So, taking someone that wasn't interested in it and then basically making it their number one priority is really freaking cool. So
Yeah, she's knocking on purple soon.
Oh,
yeah,
that'd be cool.
She just got her third stripe.
Nice.
Third stripe on blue, right? So yeah, we're talking about that the other day.
I agree on the rolling thing. There's those two approaches to it, right? And yeah, we can start rolling, having people roll right away, make them tougher, get them ready to fight right away. Yeah, sure. But I think there's a lot more negatives from that. Like you said, I'm sorry, it runs people off. The three of us, we are black swans. We are outliers with people who look to work some level of self-preservation. We're the three of us. We will go into hardcore jiu-jitsu gym, MMA school, a wrestling club, boxing gym, whatever. We'll go in there and train and get the snot beat out of us, whatever. As long as we're getting something of value back, we'll go back.
Oh yeah.
But again, we're the outliers. We're not normal people. But does that mean that normal people shouldn't have the opportunity to get some benefit, right? So, and the other thing, the other problem with people rolling right away is anybody who's done jiu-jitsu for any amount of time will understand the most dangerous person on the mat is who?
The
White belt,
beginner,
especially a new white belt, right?
especially if
So,
they're athletic.
what's that?
Especially if they're athletic, real athletic. Yep.
Exactly. You guys know Alex Sansone, right?
Yep.
Yeah, suited shootist. He got hurt a couple months ago rolling with a guy, a first-time visitor to their academy. They
I
rolled.
saw that.
The guy tweaked Alex's knee. Fortunately, not too bad, but he was out for a couple weeks. Why? Why? What purpose is it to take a new person who doesn't know jiu-jitsu and have them roll? Right? It doesn't make any sense. It's like asking somebody to play, the solo to Stairway to Heaven when you can't even you don't even know a D chord, right?
Yep.
Here's a guitar. Go play a thing to Stairway to Heaven, or Eruption, or something like that. What? Right? Or write the great American novel. Oh, I'm illiterate. So what? Go write. Right? It's just to make crawl, walk, run to some level. So like when I had the fundamental class at Meg's, my guys, none of them rolled. It was somewhere between 4 to 6 months. It's sort of dependent on how the training was going and how everybody was responding. But it was between 4 to 6 months. I'd let them roll. Now they did positional sparring right from the beginning, but that's much more controlled. That's much more specific, right? And GU does that not from the beginning, but they do that with they call it the reflex development classes.
Mhm.
It's that
Yep.
similar type thing. So within, I think so if you average 3 classes a week, you could get into the reflex development class in about 3 months. And you could be doing essentially a version of positional sparring. Well, that's pretty good.
Yep.
That's pretty good. And then if you keep doing it, somewhere between 8 to 12 months, you'll be eligible to go to the advanced class and you start rolling all the time. That's not bad. It's not like, okay, you'll roll in 5 years, right? It's not some weird traditional martial art where you never really do it in 20 years. Somehow you, by osmosis, you become a fighter. You'll get it in GU. It's just a little bit longer than we're typically used to in jiu-jitsu, but you don't lose students. You don't. I mean, GU has about 4,000 students right now. And here's the thing: everyone go, well, of course, because everyone wants to train with Henner and Huron. Henner and Huron only teach 1 day a week each. Huron teaches Fridays. Fridays, and Henner teaches Saturdays. The rest of the week, it's their other guys. And people, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday classes are just as full as Henner and Huron's classes. It's not a cult of personality. It's the program. It's jiu-jitsu taught well, and like you said, Aaron, anybody can do it. You can walk in and you get that first class under your belt, whatever the class is on the combatives curriculum of the 23 classes. You jump in on any one of them and you go, okay, yeah, did some stuff, felt okay, didn't get killed, nobody smashed me. Yeah, I got a little sweat from some other weird dude, but it's not as bad, right?
Yeah.
So, is it a perfect program? No, but it's really damn good. And if we care, right? If we as instructors and subject matter experts and people with voices in the self-preservation training community, if we're serious about getting everybody better, more capable, more dangerous to bad guys, then we need to optimize how we teach, how we get people to that point. And if we just blindly go, oh, okay, just put on the fist helmets and beat the crap out of each other, shoot each other, do this, or we're going to run people off. We're going to lose people, and maybe we get a tiny, 10% of the people who start training will continue. How about let's flip it? Let's make it 90% doing it. How much better would our world be If 90% of the average good private citizen had some minor understanding of jujitsu, muck, concealed carry, and being able to shoot decently and understanding legal applications, just on a minor level of those things, how much better would we be as a society?
Well, we would certainly have a way more polite society, if I can use that term. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I was going to say about it, Cecil, is I've had, and I think my only real misgiving about the GU program is how long it takes people to roll. And I want to be careful because I'm not a black belt.
Yep.
From a purple belt level, I think I have enough understanding of what I believe people's progression should be. And I agree. I don't think people should roll at the beginning. And it wasn't until it was probably 2 years ago when I thought, you know what, I think that is probably a good call. And it is for the express reason of keeping people in and kind of chilling out that initial newbie attitude towards it. But yeah, overall, man, I think I've always respected the Gracie University program, and again, Justin Ball, who I share the morning program with, he's been using a lot of the GU stuff.
It's really good. It's solid.
Yeah,
it's really. I mean, it's a really good program, and certainly we can have a debate on when people should start rolling. We can absolutely have that debate on at what point. Maybe GU is at the far end of the acceptable, but we can certainly say you shouldn't be rolling on day one.
I agree.
And here's the super interesting thing. So I've always said that, right? Because like I said, I ran the fundamental class at Meg's 14 years of doing it, and I didn't let the guys roll until that somewhere 4 to 6 month mark. Okay. As I started getting to GU and I'm seeing how they do it, cool. Well, since then, I look and I'll talk to other people. You know who else slows down people, not letting them roll right away for 4 to 6 months? Atos, Baja, Alliance, and who was the other one? AOJ. Like all the top competition teams.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
all the competition. They all have come to the conclusion that the best thing is don't let people roll right away. At least Atos is 4 months. That's straight from the mouth of a competition team black belt from San Diego Atos, who told me that to my face. So if they're not rolling right away, then nobody should be rolling right away. I'm sorry.
Incidentally, I've always thought around that 4 month mark myself.
Yeah, see, I think 4 to 6 months, depending on how much brain power, how much focus the person puts into it. You have the occasional student who the only time they think about jiu-jitsu is when they walk into the academy, and as soon as they walk out, they don't think about it. Okay, they're going to be a little bit slower in grasping stuff. But if you have the typical guy, comes 2 times a week, maybe every now and then he'll watch a YouTube video or something on Facebook. Maybe he's looked at a full instructional, just playing around, maybe listen to a couple podcasts, and it's in his head. 4 to 6 months, he'll be okay, ready to roll. So, like I said, is GU perfect? Don't know. I think it's really good. I think it's better than most. And there's far more pros than cons to it. So, yeah, I don't regret any of it. I haven't regretted any of this affiliation. And I'll tell you this, Huron is freaking a jiu-jitsu god. Henner's really good. First time he smashed me rolling with him. And he shut down my favorite overhook close guard game in a way that nobody's ever shut down before. And it really irritated me. I was really mad. But Huron, he's at another level. I've literally rolled with almost everybody. Bernardo Faria, Keenan Cornelius, on and on and on. I rolled with, and Huron is as good as anybody I've ever even heard of, let
Awesome.
alone actually rolled. Now, I have rolled with Hickson, but that was when I was brand new, so I can't use that as a marker because all I remember is I didn't know what he did to me, and it sucked, and it felt like he didn't do anything. So
let me tell a real
Huron is great.
Let me tell a real quick story about Huron. So it was a Friday night. It was a combatives class, and I went from work, showed up at the gym, and started changing my clothes, and I'm getting my gi on, and then all of a sudden I see this pretty big guy out of my peripheral vision, and I look over, and there's this big smile on his face, and it's Huron, The number one thing that I know those guys kind of get tired of hearing about this, but there's no way getting around it. He is a big dude. It's like not just tall. He's like this big human. But that was one of the first things I noticed. But it's neat. Being in. You keep referring to this self-preservation community. It is really neat that so many of us students and you guys as instructors, and it's just an amazing world of brilliant and wonderful people. And so I've been to a lot of world-class classes, yours, Craig's, Tom Givens. I could just name off a ton, but when Huron was there was an air of that world class that was real apparent. It's almost like going to me whenever I go to one of your guys' classes or that night. It's like getting to see this kick-ass band. Here's this band that's okay. That's a pretty good band. But then when you go to that, having Huron teach, it was like seeing a badass band, and you're just sitting there going, man, this is some good stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Rolling with him is just weird. It's just so odd because you don't feel like you can do anything, but it doesn't feel like he's doing anything to you until it's too late. And it's just, you're like, okay, well, I just tapped. Okay, cool. Great. I mean, he trap and rolled me. Nobody trap and rolls me. Literally, nobody trap and rolls me. And he just did. He's just like, all right, go ahead, mount me, Cecil. All right. And he just hung on, and then he just goes. And I'm like, oh, I know trap and roll's coming. I know how to stop that. Whoa. Crazy.
So he just got.
You know what? What's that?
He got Gracie's combatives on you, man. He just turned it on you.
Combative. He combative me all over the map. But here's the cool thing. Both of them are really good people. Both of them are really cool, approachable,
they seem to be
down-to-earth people. Very, and Henner's always on, right? Because he's such a good salesman. He's so much energy, blah, 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 blah. But when you talk to him, you talk to Henner. There's no weird persona. It's Henner you're talking to. It's really cool. I mean, it's like Craig, right? Craig's this presence. But when you talk to him, you are talking to Craig.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
So it's fun. I don't have any regrets with going GU. It's been going really well. And it's interesting. I still have a ton of things I have to do. Like I'm essentially on probation with them. I've got another 8 months that I have to do a few things, which I think is awesome. I love this. They're not going to rubber stamp me just because I'm going to pay them an affiliation fee or something.
That's why they're successful.
Yeah, exactly. Their standards are so good about this, and they hold everybody to it, which I think is phenomenal. Like Tom Givens, right? Why does the certification, an instructor certification from Tom, mean what it does? Because people fail.
Yep.
He will fail you if you don't live up to those qualifications. So that means that when you do get that you have passed those qualifications, that's legitimate, and it means that much more. So yeah, I love it. It's good, and man, just makes me happy to be on the mat. I'm rolling, put my gi on, I do this, teach some jujitsu. I can the fact that I can teach a kids program, which I didn't think I was ever. I had told Sean when we first decided to partner up, you do the kids, because I was like, I can't do the kids. Now I teach the kids. All our classes are equal. Like we're 50-50 on everything. So like he'll teach. So he'll teach maybe Monday, Tuesday, all the classes, and I assist, and I'll teach Wednesday, Thursday, and he'll assist, kind of thing. And then we like split Friday and Saturday or whatever. But I can teach all of it because especially the kids program and the combatives program is very. It's not just here's something. It's very logical, and they give you the reasons. As a part of the instructor training program, is they give you the reasons why it's done this way. And I'm like, I have very little argument with almost all of it. There was one or two little things I'm like, why do we do this? I was like, well, because of this. And why don't we do this? Oh, because of this. Okay, cool. I might have made a different choice, but I understand why they do the choice, which is another thing. Both Henner and Huron both told me those things. Like I'll go up to him and go, when Henner was here on that Wednesday when he came to visit us, I had a question about one of the moves. Why is that in the curriculum? And he spent 5 minutes dissertation on how it came into the program. No BS. Oh, it's the best. It's like, no, well, because we were looking for this and it needed to fit like this. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's very good. So I love it. Plus the fact that I'm still affiliated with Meg, right? That it's not like you must do our way only, right? That they respect. They respect everybody else. If you're a legitimate jiu-jitsu guy, they have mad respect for you. Like last December, they did at GU. They did a big open invitation for any black belt on a Saturday. It's like a half-day session. Just come and just roll and exchange information. Didn't matter who you were with, anything. Just come and we're all together. And I talked to both Henner and Huron about afterwards, and they're like, "Yeah, it was great." Everyone's just going, "Yeah, we do this, and then sometimes I like to do this," and it was just this exchange of information coming from camps that are fighting with each other, So I dig it. I love it. I love it.
Well, I think that I saw I saw that event, and it made me respect them that much more.
I'm going next year. They're going to do it again, and I'm definitely going next year.
Well, maybe we can then drag you to the Origin camp with us at some point. Aaron and I haven't been yet, but that's something I want to do.
Where do they do that?
It's in Maine.
Maine? Really? I've never been to Maine.
Yeah, so we definitely have been intended to do that. Well, real quick, a little funny story because you brought it up. And Aaron, I think you remember this. Speaking of Tom Givens and people not passing, Aaron, do you remember that? I felt sorry for him, but it's still, Tom's humor when the guy. I mean, it was his last chance to qualify on one of the. I don't know if it was the Range Master qual or it was the FBI qual, but he said, "Man, I almost passed," and Tom said, "Well, I almost gave you a certificate." in his dry, Tom. I will say something about Tom that the more that we have gotten to know Tom, he is a very, very caring person.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So he's not just trying to.
He's not. He doesn't throw it in your face.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, absolutely.
But he very much so. It's important to him that people are getting better, that they are learning the right things from him, and that he's supporting that, other people to do it. Yeah, absolutely. And he's funny as hell. He's funny as hell.
We always crack up around Tom. Exactly. Well, listen, Cecil. we're getting real close to our normal time frame, but we still got time. But we
Yeah, I got time.
really, I would, yeah, if you got a little time, man, we would love to talk about your collaboration class, the NPE Counter Robbery class.
Oh, okay.
First off, can you give a summary of what that course is?
Sure.
And then Aaron and I can hit you with a few questions and discussion points.
Sure. So it's a collaboration between me, Darryl Bolke, and Chuck Haggard. And the idea is, how do normal Earth people who have to function in some kind of non-permissive environment, whether that's a legal NPE, whether it's a business NPE, like you're working at a company that won't let you be armed or whatever, or is it a social NPE? Like that's what I face most of the time. Essentially, there was no external thing that said I couldn't carry a gun. But if I walked into a client, sat down at a meeting, and they go, "What the hell's under your? What's that bulge under your shirt?" And I'm rocking, a Roland Special with 3 spare magazines. I'm not going to be. Those guys aren't going to be my clients much longer. I'm sorry. That's just.
It's reality.
People, even like I had one client, or I had one client who the guy was a big time shooter and hunter, but he never cared about concealed carry or self defense. So even if I walked into his place gunned up, he'd probably be, or I shouldn't say that. If I walked into his place gunned up and they saw it, that's a better way of putting it. He probably wouldn't have been particularly accepting, right? So those kind of environments that you have to function in, but unfortunately, bad shit happens in those environments, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the environment, maybe when you're just leaving the environment, I'm leaving my client where I've got to be very careful, and I'm walking through a parking lot, I can get jacked right there. Or on the way to a client, or on the way back, I have to stop at an ATM, or on the way home from work, stop at an ATM, all those things. How do we handle those situations running the real everyday carry gear that most people have to carry? Not law enforcement, not ex-law enforcement that are all covered under LEOSA or anything, or active duty mill guys, or nothing like that. Average, everyday people who have to function within the law and society. How do we deal with that? And so you got Chuck with his background, 35 years law enforcement. Darryl, where he did the LE gig, and then right after he did that, he worked in an environment where he had to wear a suit all the time, but it was in a really bad place. So he had to be gunned up, and I faced that for 30 plus years of my life. Actually 35. As soon as I left college, I was in that world.
Well,
and so the class is, how do we deal with that? And basically, it's thinking with the gun in your hand, or thinking with the gun on you, and what you need to do. It's a lot of muck. It's a lot of OC spray, and it's shooting with a really heavy cognitive load, and it's all putting them together. Is really where it I think where the class really makes its impact, is where everything comes together. So we break the students into 2 groups, and so each group will go with Chuck and Darryl to the range, and then the other group will come with me. And I'll start through muck as the base. We'll work all of that. So we're doing force on force, not necessarily to a gun, or not necessarily to a physical end, but we're still doing, people forget what force on force really is. It's the spectrum, right? And so we start that. And then every 2 hours, the students change. They come back. So then, especially by the second day, they're seeing the individual components, and then we start putting them together. So all the OC spray and the shooting stuff that Darryl worked them through. So Sunday morning, now we're putting it with the muck. And now you're like, all right, cool. You can shoot. You learn to shoot from a pocket. Cool. Now do it with an unknown who has the freedom of action to act as an unknown would, can you still perform? What do you need to do to get that gun out? Or what do you need to do to use OC spray? Right? Because every time, nobody ever thinks about how you actually access and deploy OC spray. And it's really good when you're just doing it. But now do it under that cognitive load of another person, of an unknown. Hey, man, I'm looking for a place around here. Can you direct me? The typical, mind mess that you get in muck. Now, how do you do this stuff? Right? And so it's that tiny, it's not individual stuff. We give them the individual stuff, and then Sunday, you just put it together and you keep feeding off each other.
Well, Cecil, real quick.
By Sunday, everybody's pretty worn out. Not necessarily physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Oh, it certainly sounds like it, Cecil. And I was just going to bring that up, that for our audience members out there that may not know what muck is, it's managing unknown contacts, and it originated from the ShivWorks curriculum under Craig, and of course, which we didn't mention earlier, which we'll kind of hit on in an intro.
Let's leave Craig out of the discussion. We don't need to talk about him. Let's screw that guy.
So Cecil is part of the ShivWorks collective, which we did not mention earlier, but we're going to have
badass
more intros.
Dudes.
Yeah, a bunch of badasses, some of the most important mentors in our lives for certain.
Easily.
But yeah, which muck in and of itself, in my opinion, is the most important skill to have.
100%. Having decent fitness and muck, those two components, you can get by without everything else, but if you have those two, you're pretty good. You're pretty well off. And the thing that what people forget is what Craig's brilliance is in managing unknown contacts, not hostile contacts.
Yeah.
Unknown contact. You don't know. That's what most people who are who haven't trained with Craig or me or whoever, anybody who's done it, they don't realize. It's real easy to manage a contact that you know is hostile, who's already shown himself. But who is that in the real world? Right? And especially in our current social environment, you make a mistake. You start to treat an unknown as hostile before you have, legal articulation to do that. Why are you picking on that poor, misunderstood urban youth who doesn't have your economic benefits and your privileges and stuff? Now I'm the bad guy, right? So Craig's curriculum with the idea of it's unknown really forces you. That's where the cognitive overload comes, right? It's not the talking. It's not the talking with movement. It's not the talking with movement and fencing. It's not that. It's doing that when you don't know what the other guy is going to do. But you can't let yourself get too vulnerable, but you also can't escalate, right? So now throw in, here's the gun. How do you do that? When do you do it? Here's OC spray. How do you do that? When do you do that? Knife, impact weapon, hand to hands, whatever. It's got to be in that context of muck. That's the key. That's the thing that's lost on a lot of training that's trying to simulate that cognitive overload. And you can certainly do it in pure shooting. There's certain things that you can do for sure. I mean, John Hearn does a lot of that, right? He spends a lot of time figuring out ways to, get the kind of elicit certain reactions, and you got Lee Weems and Eric Gelhaus doing that kind of stuff. But realistically, and that's important. Don't get me wrong, that's super important. But where the rubber meets the road is that managing unknown contacts, dealing with an unknown who has the freedom to act as an unknown would act. And now you have to make all these decisions, including, should I go to the gun? How do I access it? How do I get it out and make sure I can use it the way it needs to be used and not fouled or taken away from me? Man, That's a lot. And I think that there's not enough of that, right? So that's why my close contact handgun class, it's all muck. That's all it is, muck. That NPE, my portion of the NPE counter robbery, it's muck and then putting in those extra components. That's the base of it.
Now, Cecil, to my understanding, I mean, you speak about the force on force element, and I think I understand this properly, and I just wanted to let you talk about it. To my understanding, you're using blue guns, correct, in this piece? Or
Oh yeah, for most of the stuff, my close contact handgun, we use UTMs, so people can get shot. But in the NPE, it's all blue guns and stuff.
And the reason I'm bringing that up, because, and this is a discussion that I had, in fact, with Eric Gelhaus, Lee Weems, and John Hearn,
Okay.
was our interest in gatewaying people into the higher levels of force on force, and that's the reason I was really wanting to bring that up, and why in the next opportunities for folks that are listening to this show could get into the NPE counter robbery class is some folks don't want to get shot by Sims or UTMs.
100%.
And they, the fact that you're using the blue guns is huge for those people. Now, and one of the things, I'll put this as a important point behind this, just because there's no Sims or pain penalty or UTM doesn't mean that your brain doesn't see that as a real event. It may not have the same amount of pressure and fear, but I mean, one of the things that I noticed the first time after doing a little bit more with Craig's permission back when I ran a CQS class out at my old gym years ago, is that why have I not just been using blue guns? Because I'm like, I'm not going to use because I had airsoft at the time, didn't work very well. And so I just started using the blue guns more. And I'm like, why am I not doing this more? I'm just wanting to accentuate that point, is the blue gun simulation is still super valuable. I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, ask anybody who's come through NPE how stressed they felt during all of those force on force scenarios, knowing that it was an inert OC trainer, so you're just getting sprayed with water and a teeny bit of alcohol, or blue guns, and ask them, hey, was that fine? Was your brain functioning at 100%? And they're going to go, no, I was falling apart, because it's still that idea. There's not one there's not one perfect training methodology. I don't care. It doesn't exist. There's not one perfect way. We need multiple avenues to get good. And, it's like we were talking about with the GU, the combatives program. How much better is it if we just slowly, safely onboard a boatload of people?
Absolutely.
Don't run them off, because we can always go harder. Whereas if the only thing we do is now you got to shoot each other with Sims and, roll around in gravel while you're getting your head kicked in, people are not going to do it. But man, you get people in now, you get people who can go, oh, all right, I can do muck. I can do force on force. And I'm not, and like there's almost no physical contact when I do NPE, when I do the muck stuff, the scenario work in NPE. If it gets to a physical contact, that means the good guy has failed, and we stop that scenario. And they'll reset and and either switch roles or do it again, whatever. But it's not Fight Club. It's not just go bang. It's just, shoot each other as much as you can, right? It's what's our training goals? And we could do this again. I think there's a time and a place to train at that 10 to 30 percentile. There's a time to train at that 50 to 60 percentile. And then there's a time to train at that 80 to 95 percentile. right? And this, like NPE, I kind of see that as that 50 percentile, right?
Well,
Even my class, even most of my coursework, yeah, it's more physical and hard, but it's not Fight Club. I would say most of my immediate action combatives 2.5 day coursework is 70 percentile, 50 to 70 percentile at the most.
Max 70.
Yeah,
Yep.
max, right? The only time we go more is the final Evo on Saturday and Sunday. Those are the only times we kick it up into another level. But
Folks need
what's
to
the
get into
difference?
that class, by the way.
Everybody has a base, a full, day and a half on Saturday, and then another full day on Sunday before you're asked to do any of that, right? So, and even Craig, see, this is the thing that drives me crazy about how people act about ECQC. Oh my God, how am I going to survive ECQC? It's so tough. Dude, the max time that you're in Fight Club in ECQC is 5 minutes. And that's being generous, right? Out of a 24-hour class now, 24 hours over 2.5 days. You spend 5 minutes in Fight Club. So why is that a big deal? But apparently, some people, I just don't even want to do that. All right, well, don't do the Evo and do everything else.
Yeah.
Do the rest of ECQ.
Which Craig will absolutely let you do.
100%. 100%.
And nobody's going to beat up
he
you about it.
He never has forced anybody except me to do an Evo.
And then he chooses the baddest people in the room.
Of course. That's how he expresses love in his language. Is I'm going to make your life a living hell, Cecil. Here, I love you.
Yeah. Well, hey, Aaron, you had something you were going to say you had something.
We don't need to talk about it long other than just, I wanted to say, when we're talking about blue guns, I want to encourage people that may see a class that doesn't have UTMs, and it's a similar class, but they want to do force on force and they want to do UTMs. Let me tell you what, taking your class, immediate action combatives, Cecil, man, what an amazing class.
Thank you.
And I was floored by how much I got out of working with blue guns in that class. And I was really excited that my wife got exposed. That was one of the main things that stood out to me, is how valuable the blue gun stuff was because my wife was there. Because, of course, I wanted her to go to shooting classes. I would like her to go to ECQC, but, she just hasn't. But it was just excellent. But you can do so much with blue guns. So
Aaron, I'll just accentuate that, Aaron, that you were also a multi-time alum of ECQC. So the fact that you can push that point about the value of the blue guns was after you had already taken 3 ECQCs.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah, 3 ECQCs. I've taken multiple Fight Club classes, not just Craig's, and working with blue guns, and then Eric, the class that we taught a few months ago with cert guns. Man,
yeah, cert guns are great. Cert guns are actually, if everybody brought a cert gun to my classes, I'd be super happy. I'm never going to make that as a prerequisite because that's $250 to $400. I'm not going to do that. But man,
it's a step further.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it was. I mean, when we were running, evolutions at our class, man, I saw the same slightly stressed out, attitudes on people's faces, and they're just putting a fist helmet on and a cert. But there's just so many ways to get this great training, and I just wanted to encourage again listeners that hear talking about blue guns that doesn't sound as enticing to them. It is. So that's my main point.
Yeah, well said, Aaron. Certainly, and I think that so let me back up a second. I was about to start another point, but your guys' NPE non-permissive environment counter robbery class. I've heard multiple reviews. I've read multiple reviews, and it absolutely is on the top of our list. We say this more often than we probably should, because it's sometimes hard to get things together at times, but maybe that's something that Aaron and I can look at hosting. Otherwise, we're going to be in it at next opportunity for certain.
Well, the problem is I have the same issue. I'd like to do a lot more training. I'd like to go to other classes, but then you got real life, you got your other commitments, you got your stuff to do, and so it's kind of hard. I just missed a Tim Herron class up in Prescott 2 weeks ago. He even invited me to it, but I have to teach, and it was very difficult. And my partner was actually sick, so I had to be here. I couldn't just pawn off the class on him and spend 3 days up in Prescott. So, I totally get it.
Well, and I was going to say that through this show, we get invited to stuff all the time. And I really, at some point, you just start feeling bad. It's like, man, I'd love to come, but what's worse, and that's why I stopped doing it, is committing myself when, because Aaron and I both have day jobs. Invariably, right. I'll get sent on some trip somewhere. And so yeah, that's the only downside of this show is having to turn people down. But we try not to, but sometimes it does happen. So
I think you guys, if you get a chance to come and take, I think you get a lot out of it. I think
there's no question.
A lot.
It took me just
none of it's going to be new. None of it. I don't think any of it will be revelatory to you. But I do think you'll dig how it's all put together more than anything else.
I know we will. Yeah, well, really cool.
Well, let me just say this, Cecil. I'll be flat honest. I knew about this class, but I did not really look at what it was until this afternoon. Sure. And I was like, holy cow. You put you put Darryl, Chuck, and you together. There's got to be a good freaking class that comes out of that. And the information that I was reading up on it, man, I was like, you get excited about these things, and I was excited to talk about it because sounds like an excellent class, and we gotta go for sure.
And I'll throw one of the reviews and probably Lee's show in the show notes. Let me make sure I write a note about that, so that folks can go read about it, and they can also hear about it on Lee's show as well. A little more detail than we went into tonight. Show. Yeah. Cool. Well, Cecil, I think, Aaron, unless you got anything else, maybe we'll let Cecil get on with his evening. To me, Cecil, it's always an amazing time hanging out with you. I was laughing when you talked about rolling around in the gravel, and folks hear this all the time. My first DCQC was with Cecil, and Cecil and I were in quite a few of the Evos together. Oh, yeah. Cecil beat me up quite a bit.
Only the one time was I will accept beating you up. The one time when I cracked you in the skull twice with a circ pistol accidentally.
A sim gun. It was because it was empty. I know. Gun, yeah. But no, it was a phenomenal experience. But what I was going to say is, I think I'm still picking gravel out of my elbows from 2010.
Yeah,
because I seriously had, I had rocks in my elbows.
People don't understand the ground cover in Central Arizona is the weirdest ground cover I literally have ever seen anywhere. It's this weird mix of tiny gravel that feels like glass shards that you can't escape, plus this weird talcum powder, dust, dirt that gets into everything, and yet it's just grainy enough to lock everything up in a gun. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing ever. And I've only seen it to this level in Central Arizona. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it certainly was funny when you said that rolling around the gravel, and it was a germane point to make. But
I've done a
well,
lot of rolling around up though on those two ranges, the two PD pistol ranges there, or the pistol and the rifle range where we were at.
yeah, I've got excellent memories, several classes there. Well, Cecil, tell our audience members how they can find you.
You can look on my web page, which I'm doing a pretty decent job of keeping updated. I'm patting myself on the back now, iacombatives.com. Now that the academy is pretty much up and running, and I've got a good idea of how to my daily life of like, okay, making sure I'm teaching this and all those kind of, the behind the scenes stuff is kind of flowing. I actually now have time to, put stuff on the website, keep my seminar schedule up and going, put videos up out there. Like I had these videos in the can for like, God, going on 2 years now, almost 2 years. And I'm finally just releasing them now.
Oh yeah, you've been putting out a bunch of good stuff, Cecil.
Yeah, and
I was going to bring that up.
And that's all my buddy Seth, who does a lot of Craig's videography stuff.
Oh yeah,
Seth's great at putting on those.
I know Seth.
Yeah, he's done a great job of graphics and setting it up and making me look really good and way smarter than I actually am. But those things have been sitting. Seth has just been waiting for me for like a year and a half to get off my ass and to start getting them out there. So I'm fine. I talked to him a couple weeks ago and said, "All right, dude, stop bugging me." So starting to do that. So and people can look on my YouTube channel, Immediate Action Combatives. There should be, I think we've got 10 video. I think we got 10 videos in total, and they range from 5 to 9 minutes. But honestly, it's going to be the bulk of my foundational material. It won't be the reps. It won't be all the details, but it will be like a good chunk of my material will be up for free. It's just up there. I refuse to monetize my YouTube channel.
Well, Cecil, I'm not being rude here. I'm making sure I'm writing it because I want to make sure that I include all that in the show notes.
Okay. But yeah, so IA Combatives is the best way to get a hold of me. I am on my Facebook or Instagram page, Immediate Action Combatives, either one. You can certainly get a hold of me through that way. My YouTube channel, but I don't know. Can you you can't contact anybody through YouTube, can you?
Yeah, you can comment,
write messages, but you'd have to look at it. Yeah,
that's the only thing. See, this is how up on social media and internet stuff I am. I don't know if I can even do that. I don't know.
Well, we've had this show, and thank God it's done pretty well. But we've just really been getting onto YouTube. We feel pretty behind ourselves.
Yep.
And our viewership on YouTube is like 0.001% of our audio listeners.
All right.
I mean, I think some of it is just it's in a saturated market. I think the other aspect is we're long form interviews, and I think the other part of it is that it's firearms based. So getting through that is
100%.
Yeah, so, but that's okay. It's out there for folks. But well, Cecil, always fun hanging out with you, man. Can't wait to see you again soon. Actually, you're teaching in Florida. I'm going to be at the Combative Summit.
Oh, you are? Oh, awesome. That's great.
Okay, yeah. Rub it in, bro.
Yep. Sorry, Aaron. I'll be hanging out with Cecil, Craig.
When is that going to be on?
John Valentine.
What'd you say, Aaron?
In Alman.
Yeah.
What's that again?
What date is that?
It's like
approximately
22nd through the 24th, or maybe just a little. I haven't.
Yeah, I'll just be getting onto the mats again at that point. I'm gonna have to. I am still probably. I'm still about 2 months left of recovery before I can really do anything. I'm not even shooting. I don't want recoil shooting up my arms and jacking up my neck. But
I'm looking
well,
forward to
yeah,
the summit because I'm only teaching. I think I'm only teaching a 2 hour block once on each day, which means I get to actually go and talk to other people and train with other people and actually, meet a couple of the other guys who I haven't met face to face. I'm dying to meet Matt Larson face to face. We've talked
Yeah.
online and stuff, and we've been on podcasts together and we've exchanged messages, but I'd like to really talk to him face to face. So, it's kind of like TACCON. I always feel like I'm so overwhelmed. I'm teaching so much and it's hard. It's very hard to just be social during TACCON. Whereas this one, I'm hoping is a little more relaxed, and I'm not running around like a pinball in a pinball machine.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's going to be awesome, and
Yeah.
it's just combatives. There's been a part of me that I was like, man, been focusing a lot on shooting. Of course, still training. At my gym, but it'll be cool to be kind of just focused on combatives and integrated martial arts
Yeah,
for
there's
a
nothing
weekend.
wrong with specializing for a given period of time. None of all of this is perishable stuff, and so okay, you kind of keep a minimum, so you kind of tread water on some of the skills, but then you go, okay, for the next whatever 4 weeks, 3 months, whatever, I'm going to really get down and dirty on this other one. That's fine, and then something will bring you around the other way like this. So you spend a couple months shooting, then you can turn to combatives. That's fine.
Exactly. Well, brother, you have a blessed evening. I'll certainly be looking forward to seeing you again for certain.
That'll be great.
Aaron,
I didn't realize you were going, so now I'm even more excited. So that'll be cool.
I realized when I was bringing it up, I don't think I talked with Cecil that I was going to be there. So,
Yeah, that's great. Because I didn't get
So-
to talk to you guys too much at TACCON.
I
No,
know
we didn't.
I didn't want to take us off on that tangent, but that's exactly what I was thinking. We got to bump into each other a few times. I was bummed I didn't get to hang out with you a little bit.
I felt the same way.
I think so. Next year, my plan is I'm not teaching nearly as much. I'm actually doing a lecture. I'm going to do a 2 hour lecture, and then I'm going to do probably 1 2 hour block. But then when I'm going to get together with the guys, and instead of all of us assisting everybody and we're all occupied, I'm going to be like, hey, let's have designated AIs, and then the rest, everybody go play, maybe Chris helps me in my block, and then everybody else just screws around. Well, Craig does that anyway, so whatever.
I think that's a good idea for you because
Yeah.
because
It's been too hard. We all feel obligated to support and help each other. So then, it ends up that we're all on the same range or the same part teaching or being AIing or whatever the entire time. And then we literally have no time to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So I think next year we're going to try to be a little more fluid on that kind of thing.
Cool. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, Cecil, you have a blessed evening.
You too,
and
guys.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Happy Father's
Thanks,
Day
guys. I
and
appreciate it.
Grandfather's Day. Yes.
That's right.
I'll add that in
right.
there. Well,
I
hey,
keep
you guys.
forgetting I'm a grandfather
That's the
too.
important one right now is the grandfather. That's the important one.
Yep.
Happy Cecil.
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good evening. Talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys, for having me on again.